Mr. David Bell here with us. He is a veteran volunteer and also a gatehouse volunteer with Family Hospice. Has been for over 20 years, right?
Starting the 24th year.
Starting the 24th year. Oh my goodness. Okay, and an invaluable volunteer at that, I should say. And then I have Nancy Patchen, who is going to be doing the interview for you, so we can go ahead and get started. And today is the 25th of May, 2023.
Nice.
Okay.
And David, what branch of the service were you in?
Branch of the service? Air Force.
Where did you go for basic training in the
Basic training, I was at in Geneva, New York.
Okay.
I can't think of the base. The base is no longer there, but it was up in Geneva, New York. And then my schooling after basic training, it was Samson Air Force Base in New York. That's where it was. And my schooling was at Chanute Air Force Base in Rantoul, Illinois.
How old were you when you joined the service?
I was 1 month into my 18th year.
Wow. Just a baby.
Yeah.
Why did you join the service? What made you want to join the Air Force?
Well, at that time, any more schooling was off limits as far as college was concerned. I had graduated from high school, and I just I didn't. Schooling was not my particular forte at the time, but and I guess that's true with quite a few. But anyway, I just wasn't ready for any more schooling, and the Korean War was on, and I absolutely refused to be drafted. So I wanted to exercise my own choice. And that's why I ended up in the Air Force.
What year would that have been, David?
No.
What year would that have been?
1953.
1953. Okay.
1953. The Korean War was still, well, even today it's still active because there's never been a peace agreement signed.
Yeah.
So it's still it's an open thorn yet.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. So.
So you went to Geneva, New York, which isn't all that far from here. What was boot camp like? Was it difficult? Was it? Tell me a little bit about it.
A lot of personal discipline. A lot of personal discipline, respect for your superiors, which there were a lot of superiors because you were the bottom line. That was all there was to it. Yeah, and it was nothing difficult. Nothing difficult at all. A lot of physical exercise, classrooms. Churches were available if you wanted to attend a religious ceremony or Catholic Mass or whatever the case would be. They were available.
I know that's something that's very important to you in your life now. Was it something important to you then, your faith?
I did attend religious ceremony. I did. I honestly, I can tell you, I can't recall any particular reason, but I did. It was available, and I was there for training, and I took that as part of the training. So that's what it was. Yeah.
What'd your mom and dad think when you signed up?
My mom didn't have anything serious to say about it. It was just sort of up to me. But my dad and I were in very heavy disagreement.
He didn't want you to go?
No, I signed up. That's correct. He did want me to go. I had pre-enlisted when I was still in high school, And I knew right away that what was coming up, the draft was in effect, and I knew that I was 1A, so I would have been prime meat for the draft. And I made up my mind I wasn't going to be drafted. I was going to select my own branch of the service. Since there's a selection out there, well, you know, exercise that option. And when my dad found out about it, well,
He's mad.
he was very upset. And I just finally told him I wasn't gonna get into an argument with him. I told him I was free, white, and 18. And it was my choice, and I was gonna do that. And I said, Pop, I said, there's nothing more that you can do about it. I said, I'm in. I signed on the dotted line, and I'm of age. And I guess that didn't go over too well with him. It didn't set too well, but I wasn't gonna get into any longer argument, so that's all there was to it. But that ended after I got home, you know. So.
Was he proud of you then?
Yeah. Yes, I'd say so. Yeah. We didn't split anything like that, but yeah. And I went to right out of school. I went to Korea. I'm a Korean vet. And I'll tell you, just getting overseas is a real experience from the service standpoint. The day I graduated from the school, I got my orders. It's going to Korea. And that starts a lot of medical checks and things like that and what have you, so. But I was fortunate. I went overseas on an aircraft carrier, which is unusual. It was a smaller aircraft carrier. It's called a troop carrier escort vessel is what it is. But we had a lot of jet fighter aircraft, which were on the aircraft too. This was out of California. And I didn't think anything of it. Airplanes, aircraft carrier, sure, of course. It's nothing strange there. There were only 400 of us, not counting the crew for the aircraft carrier. There were only 400 of us aboard as far as troops that were going to Korea. And about 6 days out, while the command of the ship, they ran us all topside up onto the carrier deck where the aircraft are carried. And you could see some land off in the Pacific. And the Pacific Ocean is a big ocean. I mean, it's Lord, I'm telling you. Anyway, as we got closer, why they announced that these aircraft that we carried from California or wherever they got them from were the Hawaiian Islands. So we stopped in the Hawaiian Islands, and they left us aboard ship. They gave us shore duty for 2 days. And that was really great. And so I had a good friend on the ship from Virginia. Can't think of the guy's name, but they gave us 2 days on the island of Oahu. And we stayed for 2 days in the Surf Rider Hotel right on Waikiki Beach.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think getting back on that aircraft carrier, that was the toughest job I've ever had in my life. After spending, but anyway, we had 26 more days travel time on the Pacific to get to where we were going, so we were aboard the ship for about a month, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. But, that wasn't bad, that was pretty good, and we docked at, Yokosuka, Japan, and it was in, December. And God, it was cold. It was really cold, yeah. And tents is what they put us up in, and that was the processing.
Then they sent you on to Korea?
Hmm?
Then they sent you on?
Sent us over to Korea, yeah,
From
after
there.
the processing was done. Yeah, and we was there. This was a restricted base. I still don't know why it was restricted. I never bothered trying to find out. It was just restricted, and I took it that it was, once you were on that base, you weren't leaving.
Oh, wow.
Unless you were, but they would try to give you, a break in, because we had to fly some of our aircraft to an air base in Japan. It was called Miho, Japan, there's a 100-hour inspection had to be done on these aircraft, and we didn't have the tools or the space to do that. So they would try to get you off the base at least one time for the year that you were there. And that was a highlight, because I had the little second lieutenant, and he came up to me on the flight line one day out there working. I was evidently working on his aircraft. He had asked me whether I had ever been off the base, how long I had been there. And I told him, I said, I really don't know. I said, maybe 6 months, 8 months. I said, I just really don't know. He said, well, he had to get his plane over to Miho, Japan. He said he wondered whether he found out I was not off the base yet. I had been there. So he got a hold of my boss on the land, and he gave it the okay. So I got over to Miho, Japan for 3 days off of the base.
Oh.
That was nice. But the funny thing was, as it turned out, that was a 1 year's tour, Korea. Japan was a 3-year tour. I don't know why, but after I'd been in Korea for about 10 months, I think, something like that, and not counting the so orders came down to our outfit. We were the 90th Bomber Squadron, and came down that we were being transferred to Johnson Air Base in Japan. I said, you're kidding. Yeah, no, we're not. So we're going. So that was nice. So we got over to Japan. Of course, it increased my time overseas because my rotation points in they considered it a combat zone was 3 points per month, which you recycle and for a year. But a non-combat zone, it's only 1.5 points a month, so it doubles your time.
Okay.
So I got to stay a little while in Japan too, which was good.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was nice. But
Did you get off the base at all in Korea? Did you
Korea? No, you couldn't.
No, you were
No,
completely
you were
on the base the whole
Totally
time.
on the base, yeah.
How about Japan? Did you ever get off the
That
base
was
freestyle?
that was just like from your downtown Williamsport, or go out to eat, or
Yeah.
that was
Was it interesting?
yeah, it really was. It was really the difference between night and day, because our our barracks in Korea were metal Quonset Huts
Cold.
with 2 burners, two stoves where you had to feed them to, to burn, yeah. And we had barracks, nice barracks
In
in Japan, and they had what they called houseboys. They did all your cleaning for you, all your bed making, the whole share. It was really, so it was just sort of like it was an elevation.
Had you traveled much outside of Pennsylvania before you were in the military? You were from this area,
No,
right?
yeah, not really.
Okay, so it was a big,
It was big, yeah. Yeah.
change for you.
Because I had to get to the ship, I had to fly from Pennsylvania to fly to California, and go from there. And
Had you been out of Pennsylvania before then?
I don't think I had been.
Wow.
No. I got really a greenhorn. It was pretty nice. It was pretty nice.
Did you have a girlfriend waiting for you at home, or was it?
No.
You didn't. No. So you were really free as a bird. How long were you in the military?
4 years. 4 years.
And then it was time to.
Hmm?
Then it was time to go back to your regular life, I guess you could say. You got out of the military and.
Well, yeah. When I got out of the military, I had traveled. Well, it was overseas. I had been to Korea, Japan, and Okinawa. And then I came back from overseas, and after I was back, we docked we had over a month to get where we wanted to go, over to travel, get me overseas, aboard that aircraft carrier. Coming back was 11 days. We were aboard a troop ship, and I think there were a troop carrier, and I think there were about 3,500 of us aboard that ship, not counting the crew.
Wow.
And we docked in Seattle, Washington. We came down Puget Sound, and that was nice. Yeah. We processed. I had 30 days leave, and I had 10 days travel time to get from Washington to my home in Pennsylvania. So it was just, it was just fantastic. It was great. I got off the ship, I remember, and got into downtown Washington, and the first thing I did, I went to a barber shop, and I told him just what I wanted. I said, your menu, just do it. Just the whole works, really. Yeah. So my home assignment then was Dow Field in Bangor, Maine. So I got to Dow Field in Bangor, Maine, and I just had all my uniforms all cleaned up and spiffed up and ready for whatever it was going to be. And they cut orders on me to go to Bergstrom Air Base in Austin, Texas. I was on. I couldn't have been. I couldn't have been on Bangor, Maine 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And I had a friend. The unusual thing, I had a friend. I met him in boot camp, and he was from Brooklyn, New York. His name was Ralph Giuseppe Giacomino Jr.
Wow.
I called him Ralph Jackman. I don't know, that bothered me. What's your mom named you? You're Ralph to me, But anyway, this was the unusual thing. We were not in the same unit, but on the same base at exactly and precisely the same time. And everywhere we went, that theme carried through for all 4 years.
Wow.
He turned out to be the best man at my wedding.
Oh.
Yeah, he was really, that was really unusual.
Yeah.
Mhm. So we got to Dowfield and Bangor, Maine, and I got my orders, and
He got his.
he came tearing to me, and it just sort of, well, where are you going? I said, well, I'm going to Bergstrom. He said, me too. So we made our plans, and I said, that was more leave time, and they give you so much travel money, and I had a pretty good shot of money. Yeah. We got together, and so anyway, we give ourselves 10 days to get to Texas. And he says, well, how are we gonna go? I said, I don't know about you. I said, I'm driving. He said, well, you don't have any car. I said, but I got the money now. So I bought a brand new car. Brand new 1955 Ford.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And
Well, you didn't really have any place to spend money,
No.
so you'd save it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, tell you what we'll do. I said, we'll spend 3 days with your family in Brooklyn, New York. And I said, and we'll spend 3 days with my family in Harrisburg. And I said, we're gonna take off for the Southland. So we did. That's what we did.
That is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I met my first wife. I interrupted, she was studying to be a nurse. And I interrupted her career, so we were married.
Was that in Austin that you met?
In Austin, Texas, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great.
It sounds like it was a good time in your life.
Yeah, it was. Would I do it again? Without a doubt.
Oh.
Without a doubt, I would do it again. Yeah, it was just a fabulous time, and so it just everything just sort of gelled, you know. And then we got settled in at Bergstrom Air Base in Texas. It was a big strategic air command base. There were a lot of it. I had in-flight refuelers and jet fighters, and it was really a big base. It was really a nice base. I had been off ship now for about 3 months, and they cut orders on me again. I had planned our wedding. We were planning our wedding, and I had they cut orders on me for Alaska, which at the time, and Hawaii at the time was not a state either. These were the early. Hawaii was the early 50s.
Okay.
So I argued with my shop chief in Bergstrom about that. I said, "You got to be kidding me!" I said, "You're supposed to allow me 6 months off ship from overseas." I said, "How come I have to pull this deal in Alaska? November, December, and January in Alaska."
Oh.
And I got nowhere with that. I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll remember you when it comes my discharge date." I said, "I'll remember you." I said, "That's not a threat." I said, "It's a promise. I'll remember you." So I went to Alaska for 97 days. And that wasn't bad. It was cold. My God, it was cold.
And that was after you had just gotten married?
Hmm?
Was it after you had gotten married?
No, I had to plan the wedding.
You were still
I had to
planning
plan the
it, okay.
wedding
Okay, gotcha.
yeah.
Oh,
And
goodness.
it worked out
I'm
okay.
sure your bride wasn't thrilled about that.
Huh?
I'm sure your bride wasn't thrilled about
No,
that.
she was not. No, she was not pleased with that at all. But what I did then, I was being discharged, and I bought a deck of cards, 52 cards. And I took them in and I put them on my shop chief's desk.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "What are those?" I said, "Those are my cards." And I said, "I'm just gonna borrow a little space of your desk," I said, "for display." I said, "That's all." Okay. And every morning that I went to work, I took one card and I ripped it up. And I laid it beside the deck. He said, "What's that for?" I said, "That's how many days I have left in the service." Mm-hmm. Yep, so I thought, well, you're just gonna watch that deck go down just like I am too, so.
Mm-hmm.
But then the kicker came, and we rented a nice house in Austin, and lived off base, and he said it was getting close to my discharge date. So we sat down, my wife and I sat down, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. No idea what I was going to do. I mean, 4 years I was traveling halfway around the world and back, and so it finally come down, and I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll tell you what." We talked. We spent nights setting up talking. "Okay," I said, "I'll tell you what, baby." I said, "This is getting old." I said, "I'm going to ask you one question." I said, "Answer it." She said, "Okay." I said, "What do you want me to do?" And just like a bolt of lightning, she said, "I want you to go to school." And that
It was the only thing you didn't want.
I did. That was the only that took the props right out from underneath me. And I said, "Well, okay." So that was it. So the University of Texas was right there in my backyard. Didn't have to travel. Already had a house. So that's what we did.
So you went to the University of Texas. Your story is really amazing. All of the cool places you've been to, Alaska and Austin and California, Maine, you really took advantage of all the travel time,
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Really I did. Yeah, it was crazy. It's just the way it turned out.
Mm-hmm.
What did you major in? What did you major in college?
Marketing research.
Okay.
Marketing research. And I had a job interview with when was it at General Foods in New York and New Jersey. So I didn't take the job. No, but it gave me a chance because my buddy Ralph Giuseppe Giacomino, he was in Brooklyn. So I started looking for him, and I couldn't find him.
Aww.
Just could not find him. I don't know whether he was there or not. It was some time after. So we parted there. Yeah.
Did you ever see him again?
No.
Oh my goodness.
No. But yeah, he was really a friend.
Aw.
Yeah. So outside of that was.
Would you recommend young people to go into the service if somebody asked you today? Would you say?
Absolutely. With one recommendation, it's going to be exactly what you make it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not any war story that you hear from people that for whatever reason got out early or something like that. You just have to understand it just doesn't work that way. It just does. And I'll have to tell you, I think that helped me with more than I helped myself with college. Because at the time I was 18. When 18, I I was 23
Mm-hmm.
when I started college. And I had 2 kids and a wife. And I don't mean this to sound like that I was ancient, but as college age went at that time,
Yeah.
I was an old man.
Yeah.
I was an old man, and it's a whole new ball game. It really is. Besides that, I had a couple of I had 2 kids that I had to raise too.
Yeah.
So, and they weren't infant babies.
Mm-hmm.
So
No.
yeah, but you just have to. If it's possible, it's time for you to grow up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe overdue
Mm-hmm.
to grow up.
Did your wife ever finish her nursing?
No.
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 You completely sidetracked her.
Yeah. Yeah. She
didn't mind, I'm sure.
she wasn't a graduate of an accountant. I didn't have a degree in accounting or anything like that, but there wasn't anything she couldn't do with a set of books. So she had, when we were in Austin, she had one of the highest paying jobs in Austin. She was a bookkeeper.
Wow.
Yep, she worked for a couple of atomic physicists had set up in Austin. And it was great.
Is there a particular lesson that you learned from your time in the military service that you'll just never forget? Anything you learned from being in the military that you'll never forget?
I don't know how to express it, what I want to say. You have to treat people with respect. You really do. Sometimes maybe the respect comes in the form of maybe you just having to walk away from a particular situation that you're confronted with, and just walk away rather than, put more of a burden on yourself or on the individual that you're walking away from. Just, call it a day. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
It's a good lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering, along with that question, do you think that all the things that you've accomplished in your life, do you think that kind of was a foundation for you, being in the military and just having self-discipline and learning to respect others and all the giving things that you do with volunteering and everything?
There's no doubt about that. No doubt at all. Yeah, you have to, well, you have to prepare yourself for that. Just maybe, well, let's take hospice volunteering, for example, okay? I had no way of preparing myself for making an attempt at being a hospice volunteer. I had no clue. So in that respect, there wasn't anything I could do to prepare myself for that except to sit down and talk to people that were involved. And of course, I had hospice with my first wife too. So that was on-the-job training for me, so to speak. So if you, I had to rely on the hospice people in order to expand what I had learned from having my wife at home. It's just, you just have to be open to learning.
I was thinking about the times that you've been able to be a part of a veteran pinning, just without mentioning any patients in particular, but I was thinking about, how is that for you when we have the veteran pinning for a hospice patient? Is that meaningful for you to be able to do that? I know you were called on to do one recently, and I was just wondering how that was for you as a veteran yourself.
Yeah, matter of fact, I was given an opportunity to bring a lady in, that little 80-year-old lady that was, that was emotional. Yeah. But worth everything. Yeah.
Thank you for being willing to do that.
So for people that might be listening to this in years to come, we're talking about is the pinning ceremonies that we do for veterans, where we have a veteran volunteer come in and thank the veteran who's laying in the bed for their service, and then you give them a certificate and a pin, and it's really an amazing service, and we thank you for sharing that. I know it's a beautiful.
Yeah, and the company, one more, just having the flag outside the room too. Yeah, it's it's.
I didn't mean to upset you. I hope that you know how much we appreciate you.
I do, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some things just hit us.
Mm.
Some things hit us in our hearts, and it just can't be helped. Thinking about all this reminiscing, it's beautiful, but it does makes you think of where your life has been, and where it is now and where you're going, and it's just a time of reflection.
If you could see some of the people that I've seen under the conditions, like, I mean, even as advanced as Japan was, at the time that I was there, but see how some of those people had to live over in Korea. My God, that's You don't forget them. But it plants a little respect. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Makes you grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So. But
is there anything else you'd like to tell us about, or anything you'd like to say about being a veteran, or anything that we haven't asked you that you might like to share with us and with future people that might be listening to this? Is there?
Nancy, it's like everything else. You have to have a decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody twisted my arm or smacked me around, because I was going in and stuff like that. It was a decision I made on my own. That's it. And you have to, sometimes you have to make that decision on your own. Knowing that you do make it on your own, the next thing you should decide is what you get there is that you're not going to make it any more difficult on yourself than what they're going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to make it difficult.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to push you. There's no doubt. But it's not going to hurt. There's no hurt. There's no Band-Aids or any doctor's appointments or anything like that. Well, there are plenty of those, yeah. But I mean, as far as your attitude toward your training, it's real easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you just make your mind up that you're going to do it, that it's not going to last forever, and better things are to come.
Mm-hmm.
Better things are to come,
That's wonderful.
and they'll be there. Just give it time. Yep.
Well, thank you so much
Yes.
for being willing to share with
Thank you,
us.
guys.
Yeah, and for all that you do for us too. We just appreciate you, and we definitely learn from you, working alongside you, but also hearing your story.
And this is something I have to do. I can't. Hoping I'm going to hold up.
You're doing great. Thank you, David.